Hello, and welcome to my video on hand placement for barrel racing and pole bending. The reason why I'm making this video is because recently I've seen some younger riders have real trouble with where they should put their hands when they're running poles and barrels. So basically this is just going to be a video on proper hand placement, where you should have your hands when you're running, when you should switch your hands, and everything in between. So let's get started. We're going to start with pole bending. Now when you're pole bending, you want to either do one hand or two hands. Two hands is generally preferred when pole bending, however, you can do one hand as well. I'm going to show you the two-handed demonstration first. When you ride two-handed through the poles, you want to have your hands right here and a general amount of pressure on your horse's mouth. Not too much where you're keeping them from really stepping out and doing what they need to do, but enough to keep contact so that your horse is listening to you and does what you want. When you're doing poles, a lot of your run depends on not your hands, but your legs. The hands are mostly just a guide for the front of your horse, but generally you want to focus on your leg pressure. So if you're weaving to the left, you don't want to go like this or like this, as I see a lot of young kids do. What you want to do is keep your hands low and in front of you at all times. Instead of pulling out like this, you want to more pick up with one side than the other. So if you're weaving to the left and going this direction, you want to get your right leg into your horse and pick up with that right side. The same goes if you're weaving to the right. Pick up with the left hand and give pressure on your left leg. If you can help it, you don't want to ever cross over with your hands at any time. The picking up gesture is kind of like you're milking a cow. You pick up and you pick up. And so that's how you're going to mainly two-hand when you're weaving in between the poles. Now some people are brave and they two-hand going around the end pole. However, what I do is when I'm going into that end pole, I'll often drop my one hand, do my horn, sit back, and do a barrel turn around the end pole. Now if you're going to the right, you want to drop your left hand to your horn and turn your horse to the right with your right hand. Same goes if you're going to turn to the left. Drop your right hand to your saddle horn, pick up with your left rein, and do your turn. One of the things a lot of people forget, however, is to slide their hand down when doing that turn. Oftentimes they'll keep their hands more up here, go to make that turn, and they don't have enough contact with their horse and often have too much rein. So what you're going to do when you're going into that end pole and you're dropping your hand, you want to slide that hand that's going to stay on the rein down so that you have more contact with your horse's mouth. Oftentimes people will attempt to one-hand their horse through the pole. That's completely on personal opinion and what they think is going to work for them and their horse. Oftentimes I recommend when you one-hand, gather your reins up like this and then neck rein through the end poles. Now you can also neck rein going around the end pole, however, that often works better for horses that roll back around the end pole. My horses are trained to do a barrel turn. Yes, you can one hand, and if that's what works best for you, then do that. However, when I teach, I always have them do two hands. Yes, you don't have the safety net and the balance that you do when you hang on to your horn. However, you do, in a way, have more control of your horse if you're two-handing. So that's how you do one hand and two hand when pole bending. Now I'll give you a demonstration up close. Now we're going to move on to barrels. Turning barrels is very similar to the way I said how to do end poles. When you're going into the barrel, you want a two-hand. Never neck rein barrels. Oftentimes you'll drive your horse right into the barrel and you'll end up knocking it over. So what you want to do is you want a two-hand going into the barrel. Now again, this is always based on rider's preference. When I'm going into a barrel, I two-hand. And then when I'm ready to turn, which is usually about in my leg, I will drop my outside hand, which if I was turning to the right would be my left hand, and I'll have slid down this hand, and I'll go to turn. Again, you want to use leg pressure. It's not all just in the hands. Then when you come back out of that barrel turn, you want to come back up to 2 hands. The same goes with turning to the left. When you're going to the left barrel, 2-hand them into it, then drop your right hand to your horn and turn with your left hand. The outside hand is always the one that you drop to your horn. Never attempt to do a left turn with your right hand or a right turn with your left hand. That does not allow your horse the general movement or form that they need to get help to make that turn. When you do this, it's more of a neck rein. Horses a lot of times can't get their neck turned correctly and they do need help to turn. You don't pull out like this. That's very similar to neck reining. It doesn't do a whole lot and it throws the horse's body into a situation that just does not help them turn. So the way that you want to have your hand is you don't want to do this, you want to pull like this towards your pocket. And you never want to cross over like this. That can often be shouldering with your horse, in which your horse turns into the barrel with their shoulder. So when you turn that right barrel, drop your left hand, pick up, and then when you come out of that barrel, pick up with your left hand again. Same goes for your left barrel. You're going into that barrel, 2 hands, drop your right hand, pick up with your left. So a lot of times young riders will try to just run their horses with one hand and never switch hands. What you want to do for that is get their confidence built so that they know that they can switch their hands and that it makes a better turn. Doing all with right or all with your left hand does not help the barrel, does not help the horse often. That's all I have for today on your basic hand placement for barrel racing and pole bending. Thanks for watching.